It started with a smile across the fence. Arjun had just returned from college break, settling back into the familiar rhythm of his quiet neighborhood. The streets were unchanged, but something was different next door. The house that had been empty for months now had signs of life: flower pots on the porch, soft music through open windows, and the gentle laughter of a woman who seemed both vibrant and sad at once. Her name was Ria. She was graceful in a way that didn't beg for attention, but captured it all the same. A few years older than Arjun, she had a kind smile and a gaze that lingered just a little longer than polite conversation required. He first met her when he offered to help carry a box from her car, a trivial gesture that became the foundation of a strange and unexpected friendship. Days turned into weeks. They talked more. Sometimes over coffee, sometimes through text. She spoke of her passion for painting and the quiet ache of a marriage slowly fading in silence. Her husband, a corporate executive, was away more than he was home. And even when he was, she confessed, it felt like he wasn't. Arjun listened. He didn't press. He simply gave her space to speak without judgment, a space she hadn't known in years. Their bond was innocent, at least on the surface. He fixed things around her house: a leaking tap, a stuck window, a flickering light. Nothing serious, but each favor stretched into longer conversations and deeper looks. They laughed easily, but beneath that ease was something they both avoided naming. It wasn't love, not exactly. Nor was it a casual friendship. It was the kind of connection that grew in the shadows, too complicated to define, too delicate to disturb. One evening, Ria invited him over for tea. Rain tapped softly against the windows as they sat in the kitchen, the air filled with the scent of ginger and cardamom. Her eyes were tired, yet peaceful, as if she finally felt seen. "You know," she said, stirring her cup, "I never expected to feel comfortable with someone again. Especially not like this." Arjun felt something shift inside him. It wasn't attraction in the usual sense. It was a protective urge, a need to keep her from breaking further. He smiled gently. "Maybe comfort is the first step back to living." She didn't respond immediately, but her hand brushed against his as she reached for a napkin, and in that moment, the silence said more than any words could. Outside, the rain continued. Inside, two souls sat quietly, each sensing they had crossed a line, not with actions, but with intention. The teacups remained unfinished. The connection, however, was just beginning, subtle, complicated, and already deeper than either of them dared to admit. And neither of them knew how much that connection would soon cost. It was a Saturday afternoon when everything shifted. Ria had texted Arjun early in the morning. "Could you help me with something? It's silly, but I can't do it alone." He agreed without hesitation. Helping her had become second nature, not out of obligation, but out of a bond neither of them named. When he arrived, she led him to the study room, pointing toward a large floating shelf she wanted mounted above her art desk. "I tried holding it up myself," she said with a sheepish grin, "but I ended up nearly dropping it on my foot." Arjun chuckled. "Well, good thing you've got backup." He marked the wall, balanced the shelf, and began drilling. Ria stood nearby, holding one side to keep it level. It was going smoothly until the drill hit a knot in the wood. In a split second, it jerked forward, slipped from Arjun's grip, and plunged downward. Ria screamed. The bit had grazed her thigh, not deeply, but at just the right angle to tear through skin. Blood bloomed instantly through her cotton pants, staining them dark red. Arjun's eyes widened in horror. "Oh my God, Ria." She winced, staggering backward onto the floor. "It hurts," she gasped, pressing her hand to the wound. "It won't stop." He knelt beside her, adrenaline kicking in. "You need a hospital. Now." Without waiting for her response, Arjun scooped her into his arms and carried her to his car. She clutched his shoulder, trembling but silent, her face pale with shock. The ride to the hospital was a blur of red lights, honking horns, and frantic prayers. At the emergency entrance, nurses rushed out with a stretcher. Arjun tried to follow, but a nurse held him back. "We've got her now. Please wait outside." He stood there, breathless, blood on his shirt, feeling every stare from the waiting room pierce through him. Whispers began to rise. An injured woman, brought in by a young man, no husband in sight. Their glances weren't curious. They were condemning. After what felt like hours, a doctor approached. "She's stable," he said. "We've stopped the bleeding and stitched the wound. It was a clean cut. She'll need rest, but she'll be okay." Arjun exhaled in relief. "Can I see her?" "She's requested no visitors," the doctor replied, a note of caution in his voice. "But she wanted you to know she's grateful." The word stung more than he expected. Grateful, as if what they had was transactional, a debt paid in silence. He nodded slowly, retreating to his car as evening fell. As he sat behind the wheel, gripping the steering wheel with blood-stained fingers, a bitter thought echoed in his mind. This was supposed to be simple. Just help. Just care. But now, everything was different, and there was no turning back. The neighborhood changed overnight. What began as a moment of emergency quickly twisted into something darker. By Monday morning, whispers slithered through the quiet lanes like smoke. Ria's house, once warm with music and laughter, now stood silent behind drawn curtains. And Arjun, once the helpful, friendly boy next door, became the subject of speculative stares and cold nods. He felt it first at the grocery store. A neighbor, Mrs. Desai, who always greeted him with cheerful conversation, turned away at the sight of him. At the local cafe, two men at the next table lowered their voices when he walked in. The rumors had spread faster than truth ever could. At the center of it all was a misunderstanding, fueled not by fact, but by imagination. Arjun had brought an injured married woman to the hospital, bloodied and frantic. No one asked for context. No one waited for clarity. And Ria's silence only made it worse. Her husband returned 2 days after the accident. He didn't knock on Arjun's door. He didn't ask questions. Instead, he stormed into his own home, his voice loud enough for the entire block to hear. Arjun, frozen behind his curtains, could make out fragments. "How could you? In my house. Do you even deny it?" That night, the maid, a woman who had seen Arjun carry Ria to the car, added fuel to the fire. She told Ria's husband what she thought she saw. 2 people alone, the door shut for too long, a man with his hands on his wife. Truth was irrelevant now. The next day, Ria's husband packed a suitcase and left. No goodbyes. No explanations. Just a note taped to the door. "You chose your way. I'll choose mine." Arjun wanted to reach out, to explain, to defend them both. But his calls went unanswered. His texts remained unread. Ria had vanished from the world, retreating into isolation as the storm swirled around them. When he finally gathered the courage to visit her, she opened the door only halfway. Her eyes were hollow, her voice faint. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean for this." "You don't have to apologize," he said. "None of this was your fault." "But it feels like it is," she replied. "And now, I can't breathe in this place. Every face, every whisper, it's too much." He understood then not just her pain but her decision. She wasn't shutting him out to hurt him. She was doing it to survive. As the door closed slowly between them, Arjun stood there for a long moment, his hands clenched and heart aching. The betrayal hadn't come from Ria. It had come from those who twisted kindness into scandal, from a husband who never asked why, and from a world that judged faster than it understood. Weeks passed. The once vivid connection between Arjun and Ria faded into quiet distance, not by choice but by necessity. The wound on her leg had healed, but the damage to their lives, to their reputations, their peace, ran far deeper. Ria eventually sold the house. One early morning, a moving truck arrived. Boxes were loaded silently, as if even sound had become a betrayal. Arjun stood at his window, heart heavy, watching strangers pack away the remnants of memories he wasn't sure he had the right to claim. He didn't expect to see her again, not after that door had closed, not after everything they'd both endured. But just as the movers hoisted the final box, Ria appeared at his gate. She wore a pale blue scarf, her expression unreadable. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, the silence dense with things left unsaid. "I thought you'd left already," he said softly, stepping out. "I wanted to," she replied, "but not without saying goodbye." Arjun nodded. The word goodbye felt too final, too cruel. "I never meant for you to be caught in this," she added, her voice trembling slightly. "You didn't deserve what came after. Any of it." "You didn't either," he said. "But people will always believe what suits their stories." Ria looked down at her hands, then back at him. "I don't regret knowing you, Arjun. You reminded me I was still a person, not just someone's wife, someone's burden." He swallowed the lump in his throat. "And you reminded me what it meant to truly care, even if it hurt." A long pause settled between them. The world around them carried on, the chirp of birds, the shuffle of footsteps, as if untouched by the storm they'd weathered. She took a step closer. "Maybe in another life, things would have been different." "Maybe," he echoed. "But in this one, we did what we could." She smiled, not with joy, but with understanding. Then she reached into her bag and handed him a small wrapped canvas. "It's the painting I never finished," she said. "But I thought you should have it. It reminded me of peace. Of you." He held it close, unable to speak. She turned to leave. As her car disappeared down the road, Arjun remained at the gate, the painting in hand, the air still with goodbye. In the days that followed, the neighborhood slowly forgot. New gossip replaced old scandal. New faces moved into the house next door. But for Arjun, that chapter never truly ended. He hung the unfinished painting on his wall, a daily reminder of a bond that was real, misunderstood, and ultimately lost. It wasn't a story of romance fulfilled, but of love misunderstood and truth betrayed, and sometimes that's the kind that leaves the deepest mark.